Okay.
Let's do it.
Hi everyone, my name is Liliana Burke, creator of GentlyPressed.
I'm Jeff Nale from the New Year podcast at KillBoringMusic.com.
And today we're hanging out with Barney, singer of Napalm Death.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah. So how you been doing?
I'm alright, man, you know, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, a little bit tired, but, you know, to be expected, I suppose, but yeah.
Now, I know you've been touring for about 5 weeks, so I can imagine it's pretty exhausting, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're only playing half an hour a day for the most part,
Right.
but psychologically you tend to put as much into that half an hour,
Right.
you know, as you would for an hour and whatever we usually play, yeah.
So, one thing that I'm really curious about is you guys have been together for a really long time, so I'm sure you guys know a lot about each other, but have you learned anything about each other or perhaps yourself throughout this year during this tour?
No, I mean, you know, you gotta think that in our case, it's the people that are in the band now have been, apart from one guy, have been around each other since for like, God, what is it now? 18 plus 9, 27 years, you know, together. So we pretty much know most things that I do. So yeah, I didn't really learn anything to myself. If anything, it's reinforced that doing a bigger tour like the Slayer tour shouldn't be treated any differently.
Right.
You know, you should always do the same as when you're playing the kind of club we're in now, Brick by Brick, as you would on that gig. You have to, you know, you have to, otherwise it's not a true representation of your art, you know.
Yeah, I agree, and I noticed, because I was looking at your tour lineup this year, and I know that you have a big variation in the type of venues that you play. You know, you've done fests, you've done large arenas, and smaller venues such as tonight. So do you have a preference for the type of venue that you like to play?
I mean, I like the small and intimate, you know. It does get a bit tricky with the lack of air in some of these places, but
it's definitely hot.
But this is our thing, you know. It's where we are best, perhaps represented, you know. I believe anyway, because we can get right in people's faces, you know. And gigs don't become uniform. Then there's always something that surprises you. Not always a pleasant one sometimes, but you know. There you go.
So I know that the new album may be coming out sometime next year. I know you said that you weren't going to be putting any pressure on it.
No, but it will be at some point next year, yeah.
Okay. So I was kind of curious, is there like a specific influence or any situation that caused you to like move forward in the direction that you are going? I know you said that the music was going to sound a little bit different, right?
I think it'll just be a few steps on from the last album.
Okay.
I mean, that general direction that we're heading in with Apex Predator, we're pretty much on that trajectory.
Okay.
Just more so, I think, you know. So a lot of the, you know, here's the thing. Napalm Death gets called a death metal band, which is as a lazy comparison, you know. It's really not that, you know. Sure, we have those influences, more so from the 80s, 90s bands, you know. But that's only a small part of the picture, you know. So we have a lot more sort of amalgamation of the fast and furious metal or hardcore influence stuff and the kind of, for want of a better phrase, industrial stuff, the noise stuff, you know, the ambient stuff that we do. A greater amalgamation of that, probably.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a huge variation in your music, and I think that's one thing that I appreciate about Napalm Death.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing in a little cubby. You're
no,
exploring
there's many different
genres.
things, yeah.
Yeah, so will Russ be producing this record as well?
Yes, he will be, yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
It's actually well on the way. It's music's largely recorded. It's just up to me to get a fucking move on, basically.
Yeah. Has any of the music been recorded while you've been touring?
No.
Okay.
That's not.
Okay.
I mean, Shane's, who's the main writer, is a little bit more versatile than me in that respect. He can sit down afternoons and like write stuff. When I'm on tour, there's too many distractions. My mode of writing is sitting in a room with no telephones or nothing.
No distractions.
No distractions, you know. I need that, you know. Otherwise I start to lose my thread, you know. And I need that absolute concentration.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I think I'm a musician too, and it's the same way for me.
Yeah,
And
but then some musicians can sit in a gig like this and write stuff backstage, you know. Everybody's different, you know.
So will any of the new songs be played tonight at all?
New songs?
Like songs that you might be having on the record?
No,
it's all just...
Nowhere near that yet, no.
Okay, awesome. So I know that you mentioned that your dad was a huge lover of rock. So besides Motorhead, what other bands influenced you from the rock genre?
Black Sabbath, definitely. Because they always had a darker edge to them than most bands. They weren't as twee as some bands of that era, because some of the bands were quite twee, you know. Black Sabbath has an underlying influence on us, I would say. What else? Hawkwind, maybe, for like there was maybe for the free thinking kind of, you know, sort of thing. And definitely some of their ideas, you know. Hawkwind. That's a tough one. From the straight rock field, probably not much. Not too much.
Is there anything that you listen to that might surprise your fans? Like, are you on your tour bus listening to a Barney Greenway record, or
no.
What was I saying? Like, what if we found out Barney listened to Anne Murray or something like that?
You know, I haven't listened to any music at all recently because I've had so much on my mind, and with this and that and different stuff, I really haven't, which is quite depressing, really, in some respects. But I just haven't exposed myself to it, because in the back of my mind, even though I've not been writing, I've been thinking about the album.
Yeah.
I do write ideas down when I'm on the road. I just can't, you know.
I think I heard you talking about that in a former interview, that someone asked you, what have you been up to? And he said, honestly, it's like I kind of have had a one-track mind. It's like when I'm busy working on an album, that's just all I'm focused on.
And it does. And my influence is already there, so I don't really need to listen outside, you know.
Right.
If it's Discharge, Siege, Repulsion, you know, Swans, Young Gods, any of that stuff, it's all in there, you know, so I don't really need to expand with it, you know. You know, I get a lot of ideas. Here's the thing, I don't lift. I know a lot of vocalists sometimes come along and read books and lift stuff from books. See, I don't do that. I do read books. I've got some really good free thinkers books. So I will get influenced by those books, but I will use my own phrasing and my own words as well, you know. I'll just get an idea from them, basically. I won't lift it off the page, you know. I don't plagiarise other stuff. Yeah.
So speaking of books, I know that you're a pretty avid reader. Have you read anything this year that has been life-changing for you, or anything that has influenced you?
Books are never really life-changing for me.
Okay.
I can step away from them and appreciate what they are, you know.
Right.
I would say, you know, there's one book that I keep going back to because it's so bursting full of ideas, which is Days of War, Nights of Love. It's a crime thing, you know. It's that book is incredible. I mean, again, you know, I read it and it's not like I go, I want to live my life, I want to be this person.
Right.
It doesn't affect me in that way, but I do. It reinforces a lot of the things that in the world that are apparent but people don't want to see, you know what I mean? So that book definitely, like, sort of consistently gives me, you know, like, sort of opens my eyes. But I mean, the only other book is not one that I've read yet, but one I'm anticipating through. Is in my bag. It's actually a biography of Khrushchev, you know, the Russian leader. I love all that stuff, you know, so I have that ready to go, you know.
Awesome.
It's not going to add anything to my life or subtract it, you know, but I love I'm kind of an amateur Soviet era historian, so I'm just fascinated by that stuff. You know.
And going back to that crime thing, I know what you're saying because I've actually had that book on my shelf for years. I know I had it. I think before maybe 2003.
I got it round about that time.
And I know I would go back to it every few often, not necessarily for inspiration, but to kind of just remind myself.
It just refreshes your brain a little bit.
My brain and maybe just validates that some of those thoughts I feel you on that. So it's pretty apparent that you're at least to me, by knowing your music and hearing you talk about humanity. It's pretty apparent that you're a very empathetic person. Do you see yourself as an empathetic person?
Here's the thing, man. I don't microanalyze myself. I really don't, because my one sole perspective on anything is you pretty much summed it up in your question. I just feel like that I know. Although you're always learning, I kind of know that I understand that, like, to discover what humanity actually means is really the way forward, And here's the thing: as an individual, I feel as if I almost don't matter, And by that I mean it's about the collective. It's not about the one person. Yeah, and see, this is the thing about Napalm Death. People always say to me, "Oh, you're fantastic." These things you say, and I'm like, "Look, that's very kind of you to say that, but it's not about me. It never has been about me. It's about the ideas, not the individual.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Napalm Death has presented a lot of free-thinking ideas out there.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that I've always appreciated about you and the band is there's not this like egocentric kind of roundabout way that you guys have about yourselves. We're just human beings and we're just making music.
This could be. You know what? At the end of the day, I know Napalm's arguably accomplished quite a lot, but anybody could do this. Honestly, really, everybody's got the capacity to do things. You just have to channel it in certain directions.
Yeah, I definitely think that if you have the resources, the compassion to really just listen to what's going on in humanity and just the drive to put yourself out there, you could definitely achieve it.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely grateful that you guys have a band have been doing that.
Yeah.
Going back to the empathy, so have you always felt that way, or did you have to go through some steps to kind of become that type of person that you are now?
Well, it's quite difficult to talk about because it almost sounds like you're manufacturing yourself a little bit, but I feel a natural flow, towards that stuff. The only thing I could say that maybe steered me further in that direction was, I remember when I was younger, I used to read. My dad was a trade unionist, so a union guy, and I used to read things from time to time about injustice. South Africa apartheid was on at the time. And in America, there was always stories about people being exploited in different industries, So we get global news from the unions around different places. And that's where I started to get an understanding that, there's this, I just felt on a very simple child's level, I felt extremely sorry for people, And that sympathy is not what is required, but at that point, my childlike mind saw a distinction between people that were able to live well and others that weren't, and that's what really started.
No, I can definitely identify with that because within my dad's side of the family, there's a lot of like anthropologists, sociologists. And I remember when I was young, my dad would bring me stacks of National Geographic, and he would be like, "Look, instead of not to say anything bad on my mom, but instead of looking at the magazines that are going on in Western society for teenage girls to look at, he would just show me all of these incredible, like, heartbreaking things that were going on through National Geographic." And I think the same thing with me. I felt a very childlike curiosity, and I think I kind of paved the road, the natural road for just empathy and understanding
Yeah.
what's going on.
And yet people get so jaded from that. Even they go from being children and feeling that way, and it seems like a lot of people lose that.
Yeah.
Possibly. But I think a lot of people retain it also. You know, there's a positive things to be taken from that. And you know, ultimately, why should it be? You know, that some people in the world are more protected, have more civic rights than others. You know, have the right to travel more places, have the right to, you know, just be more accepted. You know,
Right.
I mean, there's something really inherently wrong about that. If we are as advanced as we think we are, you know, we are the top of the evolutionary, you know, then what the fuck, really, you know, quite frankly. Something that clearly needs to be done, you know.
So one of the last things that I just wanted to ask you is if you could just go back to a time in your life where maybe you were having a difficult time. Now looking back on that, you know, what would you say to yourself back then?
I would say, you know what, here's the thing, I would widen it out to the fact that I come into situations where I see people who have like sort of mental issues and stuff, and I see people observing them from the outside and being like, oh, what the fuck's wrong with these people?
Right.
And I would never do that. I have an understanding, you know. I've been there. Most people have, you know. And I came out the other end, you know, like walking through a tunnel, you know. So I understand. I would never mock like anybody, you know. So the mind is still a very a misunderstood thing in a lot of ways, and because we don't understand it, we really don't know what it's capable of, you know. I mean, we're being driven by this thing, you know, as well as other organs, you know. So yeah, it's a complex thing. Whether we will ever truly understand it, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I agree. So I don't know if you're aware, but you know, I put out on social media that we were going to be doing an interview with you, and we asked some of your fans to submit questions.
Yeah.
Just ask you anything they wanted.
Anything goes.
So thank you for everybody that participated in that. And we picked one question, and it's kind of an odd question.
No, that's all good.
So it's a guy, he's 40, he's from Worthing or Worthington?
Worthing, yeah.
He actually had some interesting stories about it that he was able to tell
About
us.
the band?
About the band, yeah. He told us about the whole, the art performance that you had.
Yeah.
And
I live near Worthing,
Oh, you
actually,
do?
so
Oh.
I might have met this guy actually
Yeah.
when I was around town.
he has a fantastic beard. He's
Maybe,
about his 40s.
maybe.
He's a really great guy. But he wanted to know, is it true that Napalm Death had to talk Shane out of a porn film with Sylvia Saint?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
There are various stories that have been
Yeah.
inflated, but
Okay.
yeah, they came into contact I think years ago,
Okay.
but I don't think that was ever on the cards,
Okay.
you know.
Well, for everybody that was wondering, the answer is no. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you must be exhausted.
No.
we are-
I've always got time to talk. You know.
Awesome. And they're going to be playing tonight at Brick by Brick in a few hours, so hopefully everybody enjoyed the interview, and it was a pleasure.
No
to be
problem.
able to talk to
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much for your
Cheers.
time.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Awesome.